Hey guys, so I was promising you that I will be talking about my favorite comics of the past year, and I will do that now. This is the first of 3 parts. This will include 10 out of 30 comics, and I will do tomorrow another video, and the day after tomorrow the last one featuring my top 10. So what will I be talking about? It's all comics. If you know my channel, you know that I like all kinds of comics, from graphic novels to superheroes to auteur to crazy stuff to super conventional stuff. So it's all thrown in there, and of course it can only be a very subjective journey through last year's comics, and I will also say that of course I haven't read everything. There are a few favorites which have turned up in almost every list, like March 3 or The Sheriff of Babylon, which I haven't read yet. I'm waiting for a deluxe edition on that. So there are a few books that I probably just missed out on, but I think I covered a lot of ground the past year, especially regarding ongoing series, which I haven't had a big focus on the previous years. So you will find a lot of ongoing series and superhero series in here, but I will start with a few honorable mentions, and it's a graphic novel by Fantagraphics, I think. No, it's Ronin Quarterly. It's Panther by Brecht Evans. Brecht Evans is an artist or a cartoonist from the Netherlands, and he's known for his fantastic and very unique art style, which you can check out here. And I've read, this is already my 3rd or 4th book even by Brecht Evans. No, it's the 3rd one. And I was very impressed from the beginning with his art, in this book too. But, and this is why it's only an honorable mention, what starts out as a naive children's story turns into something more, let's say, dubious. Something is hinted at here, something is wrong. Not everything is what it seems that it is, but, and this is my critique, we don't get really anywhere. And sometimes I'm bothered by that, sometimes I'm not. In this case, it felt like I've read the first half of a story, or just a story which wasn't planned out thoroughly. And it left me a little bit frustrated would be too big of a word, but you know, I read it and I forgot about it. So when I was doing my inventory of my, looked up what did I read this year, this really didn't leave a big impression on me. Having said that, doesn't mean it has to be the same with you. If you have never read anything by Brecht Evans, I would say this is just from aesthetical standpoint, this is probably his strongest work, but my favorite one is still the first one, which is, let me check it if I can find it here. Wait, we'll return in a second. Yeah, it was called The Wrong Place. But yeah, if you like his art, you should at least sample Panther. Another one which on which the verdict is still out there is The Electric Sublime by IDW. It's written by Mr. Maxwell Prince and drawn by Mr. Martin Morazzo. And I enjoyed the first 3 issues very much. But I think especially miniseries, you will you will know on the first issue or on the final issue if it was worth the ride. Of what I'm sure of, visually it was already. It's a visual treat, and it has of course something to do with the fact that art and being an artist plays a very important role in this comic, which is, if I remember it right, it's kind of a crime story, a detective story, where an artist and his ability to get into the art is needed for in order to solve the murder that happened. And we had another story, very similar one, in Art Ops from DC Vertigo, but this felt a bit more concise, and yeah, there is something really dark coming out of this other dimension called art, and it's invading our reality. And if you want to find out more about it, you should check out the Electric Sublime IDW Press. I'm pretty sure when this will wrap up, it would have landed at least in my top 20. I really enjoyed it. Alright, some other honorable mentions are a few superhero stories that are fun, but no must-haves. One of them is Bloodshot by Jeff Lemire. There are two Jeff Lemire's, the one writing corporate comics and the one writing personal ones for himself. So there is a difference between his stuff at Image or Dark Horse and his stuff at Valiant and Marvel. And DC. He used to be a DC writer with Animal Man and Green Arrow, when DC was still the New 52. And this is one of his stronger corporate assignments. It's a really cool action adventure story featuring Bloodshot. I won't get into details. I can explain to you like the whole mythos of Bloodshot and what he stands for in the Valiant universe. He's very central to the modern Valiant universe, and this is a visually engaging and really eye-popping experience sometimes, and it's quite a fun story, but not innovative or anything. Just good old action superhero Punisher style adventure. Alright, next up is Dan Abnett's and Scott Eaton's, Aquaman, which I enjoy it, but I can't recommend it. In that it's kind of cheesy. It can become political from time to time, but the sheer capability of Dan Abnett, his writing skills are so good. I feel like he can't do no wrong. He's just a very capable genre writer. So this is a fun superhero adventure book. You can see here some of Scott Eaton's art, which is decent. He has no strong sense for page design, as you can see here. Everything looks a little bit too crowded for my taste on a Scott Eaton page, and well, not here. So he can do good stuff too. But okay, he's not my favorite artist, but a capable one. And this is not my favorite series, but I can't stop reading it. It's just a nice soap opera, which takes its time. We're into the 15th issue right now, and it's still one big overarching story, but it's cool. I like it. Deathstroke is another DC Rebirth book that I enjoy more and more. It started strongly, then it became a little bit convoluted, at least for my taste. But now I get what Christopher Priest, who's writing this book, is trying to do. He's building a big panoramic view on Deathstroke, his family, his past, his present. So you see, it's a lot of stuff, and he doesn't do like this, here I have a little story, I will finish it and start the next one. No, everything is going back and forth, different timelines, different characters. So I got lost from time to time, but now I feel like I have settled in after 10 issues, and it's a really entertaining superhero book. Alright, now the official top 30 starts, and on rank 30 I have another Dan Abnett book, Earth to Society. I got into this series, I think with number 13 or so, and it will end with number 21, unfortunately. I've heard that the first trade, which is not by Dan Abnett, is not that good, and also Dan Abnett's second trade is okay, but then it gets really starting, I think, at about number 13 or 14, the number that I have started reading it, and it's just a fun ride with teenage superheroes. I will show you a little bit of the art, which I think is really nice. It's fun, it's easy on the eye, it's very clean, and as is the story. So even if you're like myself, you're not a big DC character buff or whatever, and I've read Earth 2 stories before, but this is a different cast. I don't know what happened, but I don't care. You get sucked into it right away, and you learn about those versions of your favorite heroes. You know, those are like all alternative reality versions of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and so on. And it's fun to spot the differences. And like I said, Dan Abnett can write a good yarn. He's a good storyteller, and if you enjoy superhero stories, I think Dan Abnett is the man. Alright, next up on 29, rank 29 is Mystery Girl. This was a Dark Horse miniseries, which is collected here in a paperback. It's by Paul Tobin. This was my introduction to Paul Tobin and Alberto Albuquerque, and it's a fun adventure book. The name kind of gives it away. Of course, it has something mysterious at its center, and this is Trina Hempstead, the main character, and her she has a special ability, namely she knows everything, every secret that you have in the moment that you open your mouth and talk to her. So so she has this kind of boardwalk agency where she just puts the table outside, and you can sit down and ask her everything about your life, mysteries that haven't unraveled for you yet because you don't know the answers to it, and she always does. And how do you spin a story around that? Because then she knows everything, but well, there is stuff that she also has to find out for herself, and not only in her professional life, but also how can you have a relationship with another person if you know everything about him, even stuff that he doesn't know about him. So it's a fun read. I don't remember every detail of it. I just remember that I really enjoyed it, and it's very much under the radar, and it shouldn't be. This was Mystery Girl. Here I have another book by Valiant Comics. I talked about Bloodshot before. This is now ranked 28, and it's Rai by Valiant Comics. I need to say a little bit, I think, about Valiant and how they're structured. So this is the third smaller but still cohesive superhero universe, and they have 3 timelines basically. So there is one in the faraway past, with heroes which are kind of eternal, so they're still living today. We have the present with their most well-known heroes like Exo Manowar or Bloodshot, and we have a future timeline, and this future timeline is in 4001 AD, and in this timeline their only book is Rise, so you get in one book the whole universe. Of course, there are always versions of current heroes popping up, especially during this event that they had, 4001 AD, the miniseries, which was basically just another extension of the Rai story. And the Rai story is he's the protector of the people of New Japan, which is the future Earth, which isn't on Earth anymore, but it's like a gigantic spaceship somewhere over the Earth. And yes, he's serving the people, but he's built and programmed by a father who is like an artificial intelligence taking care of everything in this new and bold society. And this is mainly the conflict. So between a well-meaning dictator who controls everything, and the people who are, of course, trying to have more liberties, and Rai is caught in between them. And it's a really cool and not only nice looking book. I will show you a little bit of the inside art by Cafu, but it's written by Matt Kindt, and I think Matt Kindt really excels at those meta stories. He's a great storyteller when it comes to more philosophical questions, and there is, of course, a lot of action in it, but also you get those hard-hitting moral and political questions. Only 4 issues were released last year. I hope it will return very soon, and if not, you should grab the paperbacks. It's a really cool story. Alright, next up, another sci-fi story. It's a miniseries by Boom Comics. It's Turncoat by Alex Paknadel and Artyom Trakhanov. And this one I finished quite a while ago. I remember really enjoying it. The art is a bit, let's say, beautifully messy, but so it's not always easy to follow the art, I have to say, but it also kind of makes sense that if it's the future and stuff is looking different, you need a little bit more of attention and focus to find out what's happening in every panel. So it kind of makes sense in the end. The story, if I remember rightly, is about, so it's a future society which was just left by their alien oppressors, and they might think, okay, now everything is gonna be fine. Humans are in charge again. Turns out they're just as corrupt and as difficult politically as were the aliens. You know, it's always easier to blame it on the foreigners or on the guys who are not like you, that they behave like shit. But when you're in charge, you do the same shit again, because it's power corrupts. We know that. I won't get too meta on you right now. This is also a really, really cool noir. It's a detective story, and there is this woman who was part of the former police force, which was serving the alien oppressors, and has made the transition to the new police force and tries to find out something about I'm not allowed to spoil it. I think something is happening. There's a conspiracy going on, and she wants to find out what is happening, and are the aliens maybe still on Earth? Why did they leave? What happened between aliens and humans? And if you like sophisticated sci-fi, if you like your sci-fi with a bit of a noir or detective twist, this is a fantastic series. You should check it out. Alright, next up is Lake of Fire, which is by Nathan Fairbairn and Matt Smith. Nathan Fairbairn is known as a colorist, and this is his first work as a writer, which is incredible because I think he did a fantastic job. Having said that, the first issue, which is super oversized, it's 44 story pages for $4, so great value. And what pages? Look at those. They're really beautiful. You can see it here. So yeah, I kind of spoiled it already on the first page. So you see the cover, it's the Middle Ages, and here we have some kind of spaceship. So it's the mix of Middle Age adventures, crusaders, knights, monks, you know, all this Middle Age society are confronted with an alien invasion. And I have to say, I was expecting a little bit more out of it, especially just a longer story, because the cast is introduced in the beginning, and it's a big cast, and Fairbairn does a great job on asserting different personalities to different characters, and the art by Matt Smith is very consistent. You recognize all the people, but just when you get used to them, they die fighting some aliens, and you're like, well, but what was the point? And I assumed that it was supposed to be a bit of a longer series, but they had to shorten it down a little bit. So what starts also as an exploration of the societal issues of those times, and the whole thing about the Crusades. And you know, the Crusades were originally not against Muslims or non-Christians, it was against heretics, Christian sects, and they really get into this whole stuff of faith and Christianity, but then aliens are here and we have to fight, we have to kill them. So it becomes an action story, an Hollywood-esque action story, but still, it's super fun to read. It's very enjoyable, great art, great coloring, obviously. It's written by a colorist, and you should definitely get the trade. All right, next up is Invisible Republic. Let me check if this is still running, because, okay, it is. I have some problems. In the last, I had some problems with the last video. So, okay, I will continue with Invisible Republic, which is now, I think, 25 or so. Which is by Gabriel Hartmann and Corinna Becco. I loved the first trade. It was super promising. I just read the second trade almost a year later. But it was no problem to get into it again. The conflicts are very slowly built. There is quite a cast of characters, but it's a focused story, but it's a very, very slow burn. This reads like a Vertigo series, which, you know, takes its 60 issues to make its point. And on the way there, we just get, I wouldn't say it's like the most twisted and super full of action series ever, but what I like about it is its you know, its slow pace and its literary feel and its slow character build, and the art is fantastic. The art is really, really great by Gabriel Hartmann, who works as, if I remember it right, I think he works as a storyboard artist for for cinema, and you can see that. I mean, the moments are always very, he picks the right moments to draw, which is a rare gift. And everything looks very much alive, and I think it's a very nice series for people who are more into psychological things rather than the more action-oriented sci-fi, because this is not action-oriented. This is political sci-fi, dealing with people uprising against oppression, but then finding out that everything is somehow intertwined, and it's complex storytelling, and if you take your time, this is very rewarding. All right, next up, very, very different kind of book. It's New Superman from DC Rebirth, one of my favorite DC books right now. So this started out like, okay, I will sample number 1. Okay, I will get number 2. It's fun, nothing special. But then it grew and grew and grew on me, and now it's one of my favorite series. Does it have to be called New Superman? Is it about Superman? No, it's a Chinese boy. He could be called something else. He gets his powers, which are very similar to Superman's powers, through a government program. And he's supposed to serve the People's Republic. But then he finds out that stuff in his family and behind this government program are a bit shady. And so there is this coming of age story about a boy finding out stuff about himself and about his family and about his surrounding. And he does this not alone. He's not the only one in the program. There's also a Chinese Batman and a Chinese Wonder Woman. And especially the Chinese Batman is super fun. He's slightly overweight, super intelligent, and makes always fun of our... and this is also a big difference to Superman, of our rather not dumb, but he's not like the brightest bulb in the universe. He's a rather impulsive guy. He's also a rather bad guy at the beginning, and he learns to deal with his new powers and with his new responsibilities, and he learns to grow up, and this is a very fun comic if you like more easy, fun comics. Next up is a rather dark one. So Black Road is on, I think, 23 or 22. I'm not sure. Whatever. Who cares? So Black Road is by Brian Wood and drawn by Gary Brown. And it's set in, I don't know, something around 1000 AD or so, I guess, when the Christians were still doing their mission work in Northern Europe. So not the whole of Europe was Christianized yet, which is kind of interesting, because we have now also like all those stories of religion and belief are coming back into literature and comics and so on, and media, because they have become so important again. And we are thrown into this very rough world, full of wolves and dangers, and we have this guy, I have forgotten his name. He's like a kind of a brute, Conan-like character who gets an assignment. He's a warrior. He gets an assignment. I forgot the precise assignment. He has to find something out in the north or bring something back from the north. It's not important. The thing is, it's the way he's walking, his journey is the story, is what the Black Road is about. And I found this a very intense and fascinating read. and you obviously see that Brian Wood is in his element. He has read Northlanders for Vertigo a few years ago, 10 years ago. I have read the first two volumes and enjoyed them, but I felt that this is much better. It's more focused and in a way more visceral. I don't know. It's hard to describe it. It has a punchy vibe, and it's really good. It's a good read. So if you're into those kind, it's not fantasy, so it's really straight historical up until now. This is really good. We have Generation Zero by Fred Van Lente and Francis Portela. It's if Harbinger is Valiant's answer to the X-Men, this is Valiant's New Mutants. It's the new kids on the block, trying to find their fellow comrades who are also like potential. They are called mutants in Valiant's universe. They're called Scythes. So this is how those Scythes are made. They are found because they have potential, and then they go through a very special process, and a lot of them die, and those who survive get those powers. So, and they try to find those Scythes before Toyo Harada or any other dubious or sinister organization do it before them. It reminds you very much of what basically Professor Xavier did with Cerebro, finding the young hopefuls. And what is a little bit sad about this series is that it will end with number 8, and that the first station on their journey is already their last. Having said that, what I really enjoyed about it is, well, firstly the art is really nice, but it's not why you buy this comic for. For me it was the story, and that Fred Van Lente, the writer, really captures this youthful euphoria and optimism, and also the whole negativity and the seriousness of things. You know, when you're a teenager, everything is so serious, and it feels like the whole world has conspired against you. And turns out in this comic, it's true. So this girl who gets recruited by Generation Zero is in a town which is just one big conspiracy, and the Generation Zero guys help her to unravel this conspiracy, to find out what killed her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, I'm not sure. And yeah, it's just a fun read. If you're into teenagers on their way to adulthood, and if you're an X-Men kind of person, this is really fun. Alright, and the last one for today, place or rank 21, is She-Wolf by Rich Tomaso, which is a really interesting book. Look at the art. I mean, the art gives away the style of the book. It's a very arty and weird book, but it's also adventure and genre. So it's a really cool mix. The main story is, if I get it right, about a girl who gets bitten by a werewolf, and her whole reality starts to change, and I guess she becomes more and more of a werewolf herself. She also finds stuff out about her family. There is stuff from the family's past, unravels some mysteries there. But basically it's just a jumping between realities, and I love that. I mean, this is like my favorite trope of stories, is this to discover there are other ways to look at the same reality, or everything that you knew is not real. And Rich Tomaso, as you can see here on these pages, does a great job jumping from one reality to another. So if you're into an offbeat kind of book, which is still accessible and is a fun and entertaining read, I can totally recommend this to you. It's a $10 book by Image Comics. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in, and hopefully we'll be back tomorrow for the second part and the day after tomorrow for the third one. Until then, have a good life. Bye bye.